Hey everybody, welcome to Monday. Yes, extra makeup. I was shooting boss fight stuff over the weekend. There are only 3 more characters plus some pickups to do with boss fight episode 5. And then I can start editing in earnest. I have already decided I'm not going to release it until after E3. Yes, that is longer than standard between episodes, but people are already gearing up for E3. The build up has started, and everything that happens in the pre-E3 period just gets buried. Nobody's thinking about anything but, the games they're excited for and whatever scandals are happening. The first part, getting excited about games, that's the way it should be. The second part is what I want to start prepping for today. But boss fight is on the horizon, and there are going to be some pretty big previews for patrons because I've got this extra time leading up to it, involving upcoming projects and what's next after boss fight. So if you are curious or just want to support what I'm doing, help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. So a few things happened that made me start thinking about social media and the culture around gaming and all that stuff again. I finished Resident Evil Village last week. You may have seen that on Twitch. I'm going to put the last bit of gameplay and then the state of play, which happened to be on the end of it, up tomorrow, I guess, for people to watch. People like watching that stuff. I don't know. But thank you for enjoying watching it. And Resident Evil 8, the farther away I am from that game, the more I remember the good stuff instead of the stuff that drove me absolutely crazy. And I mean, that's the way some games work, right? It's very uneven, but the good parts make up for the not very good parts. And the characters were awesome. I didn't love Heisenberg as much as everybody else, but all the other three lords, I liked in very different ways. I won't do more because spoilers. If you want more about my thoughts on Resident Evil Village, let me know. I'll do a video on it. Okay? Okay, cool. I also finished Days Gone. Finally. I'm still killing hordes. But what an excellent game. It's glitchy in places still, but what an excellent game. That game got robbed. I'm sorry, that game got robbed. It deserved better than what it got in terms of sales. It's a good game. Even with the rocky launch, it's a good game. And then Far Cry 6 did a gameplay reveal on Friday, it seems so long ago. But we watched it on Twitch. We had a lot of fun. But I was kind of a prophet. Not to toot my own horn, but some of these things are predictable. Outrage is predictable. And I said at the end of the stream, when some people started getting doom and gloomy, gamers do it. It's a knee-jerk thing to ward off disappointment. I get it. But I said at the time, and I'll say it here, we are coming to the precipice of the end of extreme culture war in gaming. Big moment in the Far Cry 6 gameplay trailer when they isolated the word fun. They actually killed the music for a minute to have the word fun. And it's also fun, big line in the sand, right? And of course, on some Discords and some subreddits and stuff like that, people complained that Ubisoft didn't draw its line in the sand enough with politics. It didn't talk about the politics of the game enough. And one person I saw actually claimed that the developers are racist because they named the little dachshund in a wheelchair Charizo. Now, for people who don't know, dachshunds are also referred to as wiener dogs. And chorizo is basically sausage. So it's a funny name where the dog is called Wiener because he's a wiener dog. The same way my uncle called the cat Coco because the kitty was brown, and called the dog Whiskey because she was amber colored. And my husband and I named the dog Snickers because she was the color of a Snickers bar. Now, If naming my dog after nougat doesn't make me racist, then using the Mexican word or the Spanish word for wiener to describe a wiener dog, it may be reductive, but it ain't racist. But of course they were like, what's the other animal's name? Burrito? And it's like, well, no, obviously not, because that crocodile in the jacket, holy shit, there was a crocodile in a jacket, turned a dude into a burrito. Other way around. Outrage makes you dumb. But this is what this game is going to get until it's out. The same way Far Cry 5, everybody lost their shit over, what it could possibly be. It's a Far Cry game. We know the formula on these games. And if you watched the 30-minute lead up to the gameplay viz, the more I think about it, the more that wasn't just fill. They put things about the world and they gave little things. And I'm like, ooh, they dropped some hints here. But the fact that people wanted it to be more political instead of just a game that has a setting, and that setting informs what's going on. And yes, we want a compelling story, but it doesn't have to be partisan, right? It doesn't have to make a point. If you know anything about the Far Cry games, they tend to be incredibly morally ambivalent. And to me, Far Cry games are all about remembering who you were when you came into that, tropical paradise hellhole, or, Far East paradise hellhole, or, lush physical beauty, really cool cultural points, failed narco state, right? That's pretty much Far Cry tourism, right? And to me, the way I play Far Cry games is it's all about remembering who you were when you went in there. It's the secret to the good ending in Far Cry 3. It's the secret to the hidden ending, for lack of a better term, the option C ending in Far Cry 4. And it contextualizes endings in Far Cry 5 that are otherwise kind of downers. Remembering who you were when you walked in. And it's going to be interesting to see if 6 completes that pattern. And that's what's interesting, right? Because in games like, with child marriage and, appropriation of tribal tattoos and all the nitty gritty stuff about the record of the CIA trying to facilitate regime change in various places in the world, which did not go well. And I think part of the problem is that more and more people's knowledge of history and geopolitics is sort of lacking. And so unless something is very black or white, say all the answers we want, people complain. But that's not the purpose of a Far Cry game. The purpose of a Far Cry game is creating a lot of moral shades of gray in a world. And, then you can set an entire field of marijuana on fire using a flamethrower. Well, was it dubstep music? I think it was dubstep music in that one game where you set the weed field on fire. But we know what it is, but people just had to find things to complain about. One, because it's Ubisoft, and for some odd reason, of all the game companies, the cool kids in gaming just keep trying to find reasons to shit on Ubisoft. Now, Ubisoft makes it easy sometimes. Sexual harassment, problem. But let's face it, the people making this game, those weren't the people that did it. The people who did it have been shit-canned at this point. My God, you'd think we'd be cheering about an Indian dude. I think he's probably Canadian, but you know what I mean? Not a white dude. Project lead on a game that has nothing to do with him being Indian. And no, they just find something to complain about because they're always going to find something to complain about. And this is where this video comes in, okay? We have a choice as gamers, right? We can either just give a new version of complaining, which has been the go-to thus far. It's like, well, we have to be just as loud as the other side so they hear our complaints, or they're just going to cave to all those complaints. And I don't think, based on the rumblings I've been getting, the disturbances in the force I've been hearing out of my friends in AAA Game Dev, that companies want someone they can please. They want to know the right way to go instead of just where the landmines are. You know, because if you're in a field full of landmines, unless you get clear directions as to what way you want to go, the safest thing to do is just stand there, do nothing, be inert, right? So they're really looking for people who are willing to give them a chance. And that's where gamers come in. Just try it, okay? And this is social media in general. Instead of trying to fight negativity with a different kind of negativity, be positive, right? Really say what you liked about something. You know, I really thought that was throwing the gauntlet down for Far Cry 6 to put fun in the trailer. That tells me that even though they hired Giancarlo Esposito, and even though, you know, we're doing the whole, you know, multi-generational kind of Cuba-style dictatorship, but there's all that social commentary in that way, it's going to be, you know, we're still going to have the equivalent of Far Cry 5's Testy Festy somewhere in there. If you don't know what Far Cry 5's Testy Festy is, I'm not going to take the time here. Look up a video. It was wonderful, wonderful madness. And I'm sure it's based on a real thing. No one can make that up. Or like all of Blood Dragon, or, you know, punching the honey badger in the head in Far Cry Primal. There are always moments of the lighting the marijuana field on fire. That's what I'm here for. You know, I will obviously talk to the cows come home about the themes and everything, the nuances in the Far Cry games. I'll, you know, break down in granular detail what I liked and didn't like about Resident Evil Village, and I will wax poetic about the story in Days Gone till the cows come home. Such a truly mature story. But also, the games are fun. Resident Evil had places that were decidedly unfun because of not great map stuff and a lack of objective reminders. So when I put the game down and picked it up the day after, 2 days after, I had no idea where I was going or what I was doing. But, you know, other things were like legit fun. Fun. That's what we pay for, right? Fun. I really want to make talking about games fun again. I'm happy that, you know, when I do a thing on the Uncharted movie, people care. I went kind of negative there on that one, but I would like to be able to do positive content about games, about stuff I like. The Days Gone stuff has been super fun because it's just been me connecting with other people who really love the game, and there has been a purity and joy in that I have very deeply missed. I don't think reviewers of games, I don't think that, you know, people like me who talk about this stuff or write about this stuff for a living, I don't think we should focus on criticism. I don't think we should focus on games be better, right? I think we should really get better at celebrating when a game does something right. And it's not just about popularity. It's not just about sales. It's technical or artistic achievement. This was good. And not just when you get to hang your hat on nihilism because it makes you feel smart, like most critics did in The Last of Us 2. And I maintain that they're wrong on that. I think that that's the problem. And that shittiness is not something we can combat with our own shittiness. We have to show the developers that there is somebody they can win with who is not their slavish hardcore fan base. We'll check them when they mess up, but we'll also say, hey, that's really great when they get it right. You know what I mean? And that requires positivity. That requires not immediately going to figure out what could possibly go wrong. And again, like I said, I understand that impulse. That Cyberpunk happened, right? Everybody gave CD Projekt all the chances in the world to get that right, and they screwed it up. But you know what? We didn't make a mistake there by giving them every chance, not jumping on the bandwagon of it being transphobic and this, that, and the next thing. We'll wait till the game is out. We'll wait till the game is out. Okay, the game's out. It sucks, right? But we gave them that chance, right? So we didn't just decide it sucked before it came out. We gave the game a chance. And I think that matters. I think developers don't develop games for people who are never going to like what they did no matter what they do, right? I'm not a AAA game dev, but I have, worked on game projects, and I've been in those discussions where it's like, who is this game for, right? And I've even been the one to go, well, you're never going to get that demographic, right? Because I usually get brought in of how do we get women to play our game? And it's like, well, you don't. You get individuals who are women to play your game. What kind of women do you want to play your game? Do you want the BioWare crowd? Do you want the smaller percentage of women who play games like, Call of Duty or Destiny? Or do you want the Cooking Mama Gardenscapes crowd? They're different, right? Like, we shouldn't have to say this, but we're still there, that not all women like the same kinds of games or likes the same things in games. It makes me sad every time I think of that. But you have to decide who is going to hate you. And that is not a fun process. And that's why you get it out of the way early and go, all right, fine. We're willing to lose these people to really go on in and create a great experience for this group, because that's what you had to do. You have to, because you can't please everyone. You're going to end up with a bland, mediocre, not very good game if you try to please everyone. Because pleasing everyone really just means offending no one. And you never get a great experience that way. Because let's face it, we wouldn't have Lady Dimitrescu if the Resident Evil team was terribly worried about offending anyone, right? And so I think we can provide that core gamer group that will give these companies a chance. And if they see that there is a core, and I really think Sony, despite itself, despite, the constant black eyes they keep giving themselves with Senran Kagura, which, okay, I played because of the scandal, so maybe it helped, and I ended up, it's amazing how attached you get to those characters. But taking out these mini games because, again, they're trying to avoid offending anyone, and they just ended up offending people, the people who actually like their games, as opposed to people who are never going to play their games, because how many women are like me who can, cite feminist theory chapter and verse, but still yeah, I'll play an anime titty game, right? I'll give it a chance. But see, I gave it a chance. That's what developers want. They want people who are willing to give their game a chance. And those Sony first-party franchises, Last of Us shit the bed. They've lost their core demographic, right? They've lost the people who fell in love with the first game. But Uncharted, they tried real hard with that not great Uncharted 4. They might, if the movie's good, they might remind people of the sparkle the series has and be able to move on in that way. But, Horizon Zero Dawn, really loyal fan base because it's a good game. Ratchet and Clank still has OGs like me that are like, yeah, man, And, God of War is so popular, Sony won't even screw it up with a movie or TV expansion. Sony has given those IPs, and I hope they'll give Days Gone another chance because it did well enough, in its second life. But that's what people connect to. And trust me, the developers really, really care about the people who like their games. Because look at Days Gone, for instance. I love Days Gone so much. I talked about it a lot. And multiple people bought the game because I talked about it a lot. That's the best marketing that any game can get. Because it really doesn't cost them anything. And it's honest. It's authentic, right? You have to really love a game. At least I do, to go to bat for it like that. Because I'm not going to cheerlead everything, right? Either, you're a friend of mine who I've worked in with game dev and I really like you as people. So I'm going to hype your project because you were great to work with and not everybody is. Or your game's got to be really friggin' good. And I will say when it's these guys were really great to work with, so I'm recommending their game. I will disclose that, and I have disclosed that because I think that's really important. But let's be the gamers that are open, are positive until we have reasons not to be, right? Let's just cheer things on. Let's allow ourselves to get hyped because look at the two options, right? Like one, we got really hyped up and we were disappointed. That can happen with Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk was very disappointing to me. Or we can spend all our time dreading the release, like we did Last of Us 2, buy the game anyway, which were it not for the memes that came out of that in my Twitch community, like Amir the Rock, that and Abby has Big Bonk, that would have been a complete waste of money. Like, I would have so regretted that had I not had you guys in community who made up those funny memes and it became a thing, right? The experience of playing the game was one of the worst gaming experiences I have ever had in terms of how miserable and angry it made me feel. But okay, I think the next time I'm dreading a game that much, I'm going to do what I did with the Mortal Kombat franchise. You lost me, not buying it. Next, spend my time on the stuff I can get hyped on. And so every Cyberpunk, which I called that back when The Witcher 3 came out. Because Cyberpunk had nothing to do with intent. It had everything to do with me saying the way they made The Witcher 3 was not sustainable. You just can't replicate that model of creating that much content with that much manpower and that much budget. You'll burn your teams out. You cannot. They either got lucky or it's an abusive workplace, or both. And I remember other people going, this is a gold standard. This is a gold standard. No, it's fool's gold. You can't replicate it. You make a game that makes that much money, so you never have to do that again. And of course, Cyberpunk got into a crunch cycle, and you get sloppiness. You get mistakes because everybody's burned out. And so, in a way, that one was predictable. And I think the one thing that we should have zero tolerance for is crunch. But let's face it, we all tolerate it when a game's awesome. But yeah, let's just be that community where if we think something's great, we hype it. If we think something sucks, we just move on to something else that's great. There'll be exceptions to this, obviously, right? Obviously. There's times where it's no, not okay, because we got to plant our flag in the ground. But I really do think positivity comes with practice. It is possible to practice a positive perspective. Wow, I got that all out. Check that out. Possible to practice a positive perspective. I think I've hit the zenith. I think that was a transcendent moment. And I should stop this video right now. Okay? Okay, I'm curious about what you think. If you do want more of the downer stuff, please tell me why. I am open to finding a balance here. There's too much sad, there's too much anger. Even when I criticize something, I want to be able to have fun with it because life's too friggin' short, right? So let me know what you guys think. I'm open. Like this is a back and forth now. This is a conversation because it's Monday. Let me know. And if you want to get even more involved in terms of crafting the content of this channel, help support this channel, become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK. Thanks for watching.